Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host, Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. I'm joined again by Mr. Bill Schuster. How's it going, Bill?
I'm doing great, Armando. It's my Friday as we're recording this. Well, it's
Yes.
a lot of people's Friday as we're recording this, but
Yes,
yeah,
no, I know it's your basically your weekend kind of thing going on, right? Like from work and stuff.
my one night off from work.
There
I
you
just got
go.
off work a couple hours ago.
There you go. This man's dedication shows no limits, ladies and gentlemen. What we are doing today is we are going to attempt to finish off our top five albums of the 1990s. We are up to the year 1998. Now, for me, 1998 was a bit of an odd year for music. Um, the Smashing Pumpkins had released Adore, which some people liked, some people hated. I happen to like it, but I'm odd, right? So that to me, that was a bit of an anomaly in terms of album releases. Um, I really had to go back and look over the list of albums that came out that year to sort of remind myself, oh yeah, that was a good one. I had that one too, kind of a thing. So how was it for you with this list for that year, Bill?
Um, well, again, I'm in this era now where most of the stuff on my list for this year and the next one are going to be oddball stuff that I wasn't listening to at the time that I actually discovered a couple of years later once I
Hmm.
got online and started looking into alternative types of music that I
Yeah.
wasn't going to find in stores, or if I did happen to see one in the store, I wouldn't have any clue what it was. So really, there's only one thing on my 98 list that I actually purchased in a brick and mortar store that I actually walked in and found it, didn't know it was coming out at that time, and was pretty excited about it. Other than that, though, it's off the beaten path again here.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's
yeah,
that's okay. That's
I mean,
fine.
that kind of
Doesn't
tells me, I guess, there wasn't necessarily a lot of mainstream stuff that caught my attention at that time if none of it made the list other than one thing.
Yeah, it was a bit of an odd year for me. Like I said, I mean, I had to go back and look. Oh, okay, this is what came out. I remember this. I had this, and just I had to go by that. But that's how I put the list together. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, we are going to give you our top five albums in 1998 plus two honorable mentions. And as is customary with these episodes, I will hand the virtual mic over to Bill so he can give you his number five for 1998.
All right. Thank you, sir. My number five is a debut album. It is a band called IZZ, and the debut album is called Sliver of a Sun. At this point, is consisted of Tom and John Galgano, brothers, obviously, uh, Brian Corellian, Greg Dimicelli, and Philip Gaita, I believe. Philip's no longer in the band, and there were two female singers, Danielle Altieri and Michelle Celestri. This was their only album. They were replaced by two other female singers who, along the way, married the Galgano brothers. And they're all still in the band, along with the guitarist who, next time I talk about them, and I will, I'll tell you about him. But this band, they are a kind of a mixture of prog, pop, rock, kind of folky, singery, songwriter stuff. They're a little bit of this, that, and everything. Um, this album, it has some pretty catchy songs. It has some long instrumental bits. It's obvious these guys can play. Tom is primarily a keyboard player. John's a bass player. Thing about Brian Corallian and Greg Dimicelli, they're both drummers. I don't know if I mentioned that. And they have been there throughout the band's history. So one of the oddball things, most bands stick with one drummer unless they're the Grateful Dead, but
Mhm.
um, but yeah, it works with these guys. It adds a distinctive touch. Um, Tom and John both have excellent singing voices, and when they bring in the two other singers who they would eventually marry, They also have excellent singing voices. So at this point, well, as of their second album, Is would become a full-on four lead vocal powerhouse,
Hmm.
which is pretty cool. They're all outstanding vocalists, and they blend their voices well together. So,
Hmm.
and again, thus far, they're still together to this day. With that slightly altered lineup of the second album. So they're even better now. They've had all these years together to gel as writers and players.
Hmm.
But this is their embryonic stage. Um, that's not to take anything away from it all. It's really an excellent album, and it's as good a place as any to start. I would actually recommend another one when we get around to doing our decade after this.
Okay.
But yeah, if you can find a copy of this, though, yeah, check it out. I don't know if I didn't look to see if this is on YouTube or not, but it's worth checking.
Okay. I'll try Discogs. Yep. Everything is on Discogs, pretty much. That's a good choice. I never heard of.
How do you know it's a good choice then?
Well, I mean, it's different. Everyone's a smart ass.
Especially me.
And a comedian. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my list. Now that I'm looking at my list here, I am remembering albums that did come out and that are quite good or not so good in retrospect. But here's my list. Coming in at number 5 for me is Seal with Human Beings. This is his follow-up to his Seal 2 album. Again, produced by Trevor Horn. It's a continuation of what he was doing on the first two albums. Very lush, ornate, almost orchestral production. A lot of use of strings and sequencing with synths and stuff. Songs of note are the title track, which, if you've seen the video of it, it's very different. You know, Seal has always been the type of artist that always tries to show very atmospheric videos in terms of color scheme and in terms of effects. Uh, it's a great album. It's a great album. Does it live up to the previous two? I don't think so. Sorry, it doesn't. I do like Human Beings. State of Grace is another one. Princess is a very short track, like a minute, 30 seconds of just him and acoustic guitar. And yeah, Latest Craze is another track that's a good one. But have I put this album on in the last few years? No, no. I usually go back to, the first two. And it's odd that with every album that he released, his sales just seem to go lower and lower and lower for some reason. But he's really good. So, anyways, that's my number 5. Seal with human beings.
Yeah, I'm part of that stat because as much as I enjoyed the previous Seal album, in fact, we got two copies of it here for some reason. Uh, I never bought anything after.
Yeah.
I'm part of the sales going down. Sorry, Seal.
It is what it is, right? So,
All right, my number 4. This is the third album from this band. I mentioned their debut a few years back. Their debut was self titled. This one is called Tyranny, and it's a concept album by Shadow Gallery. They are the essentially a prog metal band, vaguely along the lines of Dream Theater, Queensryche, that type of general area. So they don't sound like them. They have that vibe. Uh, this is a great album for conspiracy theorists because it's one of those things. It's a about a government employee who finds things out and goes on the run, and yeah, it's pretty cool. And they actually continue the story years later on another album. So this is essentially part one.
Okay.
Uh, this is more modern, more streamlined, a little less folky than their debut. It has less proggy touches, I think, and more hard rock touches. Shorter songs. There's no 17-minute Queen of the City of Ice on this one. The
Okay.
longest song is New World Order, just over 8 minutes.
It's all right.
Yeah, but oh no, excuse me. I believe is 8 minutes and 41 seconds. But those are the only two. The rest are all in normal pop rock type length. Yeah, so if you are interested in a 1998 era hard proggy rocky synthy metal ish concept album about dirty deeds done by the government and what we can do to get away from it, well, here you go. Hard rock conspiracy theorists, jump on board.
Perfect. Perfect. Um, yeah, I really do need to check out Shadow Gallery. I really do. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna take some time and look into the band. My number four, mm, oh boy. Um, Madonna with Ray of Light. Um, this was seen as her big return in 1998. It had been a few years since Bedtime Stories that came out in 1994. And she had released compilations between 94 and 98, but this was just a different route for her. She was going more of a hip, like I would say, ambient trip hop kind of route with songs like Drowned World, Substitute for Love, the lead off single Frozen, which, if you guys can get your hands on a copy of the extended club mix of Frozen, ass shaker of a track. I'm sorry, with a lot of it, that track alone has a lot of Middle Eastern influences. Other songs I know are Mur Girl, um, and The Power of Goodbye, which was a single, and Nothing Really Matters. Again, she was going for more of a mature approach in terms of her musical output. Good album. This was when she started to learn how to play guitar for her stage performances. It is a good album. I haven't really listened to it much over the years, but it was a different approach for her. And the original album title was going to be Veronica Electronica. Veronica is one of her names. Her actual name is Madonna Louise Veronica Ciccone. So uh, pick any name you want, but this is from Madonna, and it's Ray of Light, and that's my number four.
Apparently, Paul McCartney and Elvis Costello knew. Her name is Veronica.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
I enjoyed this era of Madonna. I thought it was cool the kind of left turns that she was taking here. I
Yeah.
thought it worked really well, and yeah, it was a good way. It extended her career for a while, when
Yeah.
most artists had already passed their sell by date at that point. So
It was funny because the same day that I bought this album, I bought Aqualung on CD for the first time. So
that's a
from,
combo.
from one extreme to another. Okay, so yeah, that's my number four.
All right, nice. All right, my number three. A lot of people would probably expect this to be my number one because this is one of my favorite bands. They've always been a top five band. At one point, I would have even called them my favorite. This was the first album in 10 years of new material. And frankly, the previous one from 1988 was an Albert Bouchard solo album with the Blue Oyster Cult name. This is the first Blue Oyster Cult album in a long time. Heaven forbid. This is the cover that some people love to hate because it's so hideous and so cheesy. But
I don't, yeah, I don't understand that cover idea like that.
I guess it's heaven forbid this monster. I don't, who knows. But the album itself, though, is pretty damn good. I was pleasantly surprised. At this point in time, you had Eric Bloom, Donald Buck Darmer and still the late Alan Lanier was in the band. So you had three members
Mhm.
of the founding lineup left. Only the Bashard brothers were gone. And some of these had been recorded throughout the 90s. They kind of stopped and started on this. They were having trouble getting record contracts. I remember seeing them in concert like 4 years before this, and Eric Bloom said, "Hey, this is a song from our new album," or something. I can't remember what he played, but yeah, it wasn't until 4 years later. Yeah, he
Mhm.
said it was coming out soon, but no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Nice try, Eric. Yeah, this album starts out strong with "See You in Black," which is Eric on vocals, and it's a nice. It's a heavy metal song. It's about Eric wishing death on an abusive husband. He wants to see this woman in black with their husband dead. I mean, it's at this
Yeah.
point these guys had lost most of their lyrical connections other than old stuff they had laying around, but they got a hold of a guy named John Shirley. And John Shirley wrote the bulk of lyrics on this and their next album from 3 years later. So there's a fair amount of consistency. But the big single from this, which wasn't really big, but I actually did hear it on the radio at least once, is Harvest Moon. And Buck Dharma himself wrote that, including the lyrics. That's very old school Blue Oyster Cult. That's one of those that kind of follows on from the Don't Fear the Reaper type of sound that most
Hmm.
people know with
Hmm.
Buck's smooth voice. I got there's damaged a line in it is I'm a howler monkey, Moreau's half and half man, and my internet name was Howler Monkey for many years because of this song and this album. Because the first thing I did when I got online was join the Blue Oyster Cult online message board. Yeah,
Okay.
so this
Cool.
album gave me my online identity. There's also Alan Lanier wasn't really writing at this point, at least not for the band, but they wanted to, I guess, give him a credit of some sort, and so they included at the end a live version of the Mirrors track written by Alan called "In Thee."
Okay.
It's a nice version. It's is it necessary? No, if you have mirrors, you don't really need this, but it's nice. But the other 10 tracks, the main album, no, it's well worth getting.
Hmm.
It's clearly a modern sound for these guys, but it works. This is some of this is like metal by a band that truly really never was metal. So
Okay.
yeah, just so you know, there's the shirt.
There you go.
Not for this
Perfect.
album, but this is a shirt I got when Eric lied about the album coming out soon.
Perfect.
It's all right.
Perfect.
He probably thought it was.
Um,
Yeah. So my number three, Blue Oyster Cult. Heaven forbid.
okay. Good one. Good one. And guys, there is a new Blue Oyster Cult album coming out. I believe it's actually I got my notification from Amazon. I'm getting my copy on Monday. It's coming out today called Ghosts. So, keep your eyes peeled for that one. Um, my number three, I'm gonna switch it up here. Um, my number three is Lenny Kravitz with Five. Um, this album was a bit of a pleasant surprise for me because I, aside from Are You Gonna Go My Way, I really didn't keep up with what he was doing musically, but I liked this album. Um, Lenny Kravitz, multi-instrumentalist, he basically does all, the drums, bass, keyboards, guitar. Um, and he delivers. I mean, it's rock, it's funk, it's soul, it's pop. You know, songs of note on this album are the single "I Belong to You," which I do like. "Live," which starts off the album, and it's just like right out of the gate. Cymbals crash, and he comes out, like with the horns and the whole bit. It's just amazing. And guitar. Fly Away, which was another single. It's John Mayer's, and he can't stand that track, and people can't stand John Mayer. So there you go. Um, but I digress. All right. Um, it's a good album. I really do need to listen to it again, because I haven't touched it in a few years. But that is my number three, Lenny Kravitz with five.
That's a good choice as I'm over here knocking things over, making a mess.
There you go. Yeah. We do
Uh,
things on the fly here, guys. There
that's right. This is live as it happens, people.
you go.
I just couldn't resist.
Yep, there it is. There it is.
A few things get knocked over on the way. That's the sacrifices we make here.
Yep. And also Lenny Kravitz is coming out with a new album May 24th. Also. And it's still in the rock funk vein. Um, if you want to see the latest single with his bare butt hanging out, it's on YouTube.
I remember, yeah, somebody online had posted the picture and everybody was oohing and eyeing. I forgot about that till you just
Hey,
said it.
anybody that can get up out of bed in the video, walk to a window, open the drapes, and just have his butt hanging out, my hat goes off to you because I could never do that. Even if I could walk, I could never do that. So
Not all of us are Lenny Kravitz. It's,
no, no, no. So you're number two?
my number two. All right, this is, I believe, yeah, my it's her third album, and it's the second time she's been at the number two spot. This is Garden of the Moon by Lana Lane.
Yeah.
Lana on back, thinking about things. What things? Who knows? Have to ask Lana.
Hmm.
But yeah, this continues her previous album. Curious Goods had moved in a slightly more progressive symphonic direction and away from more hard rock of her debut. This continues that in general, but it's still it really, yeah, symphonic hard rock. That's the basic description here, or melodic hard rock, or yeah, there's lots of more mellow parts, more balladic parts. Is that a word? Balladic? It is now.
It is now. Well,
Copyright. If that's a new word, I just copyrighted it. Don't
there
touch it.
you go. There you go. There you go. If you
Yeah, this
infringe, send
has
us some money.
yes. Oh yeah. Hey, hold on. My Cash App is all right. I don't have one.
Yeah.
Uh, this is the two disc special edition that came out back in 2002. So this has the original 1998 album, and disc two has echoes and bonus tracks, which are some alternate versions of some of the songs, a couple live tracks, a couple other things like a cover of the David Bowie Pat Metheny song "This Is Not America," which is quite nice. Um, but the main song, some of her most famous songs among her fans, some favorites, "Destination Roswell," which is of course about Area 51 and UFOs, aliens, what's the government hiding?
Yeah,
On and
yeah.
on. Kind of goes in with that Shadow Gallery album.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right.
Um, Eternal Waters, which she wrote about her grandmother, which is quite a touching song and very catchy. Under the Olive Tree, written with stick player Don Schiff and I believe Don's wife, Tully Winfield. Don, of course, being a member of the Rocket Scientist with Lana's husband, Eric Norlander. Don also used to play with Elvis. Yes, yes, that Elvis. Thank you very much.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Yeah. But don't think this sounds anything like Elvis because it's nowhere, not at all like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is yeah, more of the same. It's got the traditional Jacek Yurka cover on there. Lots of real surrealistic little bits and pieces. It's kind of hard to see on this image, but Yeah, just another great album by her. Here's the whole band at the time. There's old Don Schiff, Mr. Former Elvis player, right there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. If anybody checked out either one of the first two, this is at least every bit as good. If you like them, you like this.
Yeah,
Simple as that. So, Lana
that's
Lane,
good.
Garden of the Moon.
That's a good choice. Yeah, you're introducing me to a lot of stuff I didn't. I mean, I know the name Lana Lane, but I've never really listened to her stuff. So I really should. You need to send me a list of this
I know
stuff.
I forgot I was supposed to send you a list of the last bunch.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I know. It's okay.
Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't do the usual basic Lana Lane thing that I did with the others. If you want an idea of where her voice is, it's a less rough, more smooth, melodic Ann Wilson voice,
Okay,
just as a starting point to give you an idea. So,
perfect, perfect. My number two is get ready for this, guys. Van Halen 3.
oh, court and controversy.
Yeah, haters come at me. I know you're going to. There's been haters that are coming at me now. Deal with it. In terms of this album, 12 tracks. You know what? This came out at a time when, okay, Sammy Hagar was out, and there was a lot of controversy as to why he was out. He was not getting, according to him, he was not getting along with the Van Halen brothers. Michael Anthony basically stayed out of it. He did not like the road that they were going to go with regards to management. They went with SRO and Ray Daniels, Rush's organization, and uh, Sammy Hagar did not like it, and they overrode him and or they vetoed him and said, "This is what we're going to do." He left the band. They got in Gary Sharon, X of Extreme. They did this album. I think of it as a different chapter for the band, a new chapter for the band. Out of 12 tracks for me, six are good songs. You have the opening instrumental, New Day, which, piano and piano played by Mike Post, produced by Mike Post. Yes, Hill Street Blues, Mike Post,
Huh.
A-Team Mike Post, the composer of all these 80s shows and stuff. They went with in a different direction. Uh, Also, Without You, the lead off single, Fire in the Hole is another track. No pun intended. We're not going to go there. We're going to keep this a clean show. Okay. Other songs of note are Once, the 8 minute plus. I call it it's a different track. It's an epic track. I like Gary Sharon's vocals. Other songs of note on the album are Josephina, A Year to the Day, Primal, I believe is another track on the album. Um, you know, it is a good album. Okay. Is it a stronger album than what they did with Sammy Hagar? No, but you know what? I don't think that this album was given a chance. It is the only Van Halen album that has been deleted officially from the Warner Brothers catalog. I don't understand why. If you want to get this album, you can go on Discogs or you have to go. Someone stole my original copy in a batch of CDs, so I had to go get a secondhand copy. Okay. I still like it. I think that a song like, for example, A Year to the Day, where you have Gary Sharon just, pouring his guts out in the lyrics, and his delivery on the vocals is just gut wrenching. I can just imagine his vocal cords being shred to bits because he really had to hit the notes on this and really had to go into the high octave register. But it's a fantastic album. I think I did. I don't know if I mentioned Josephina, which is another track on the album. I saw them on this tour. I think it's a good album. It's not the greatest album, but you know what? At least they continued and they pushed on. Okay. There was another album that was recorded for Warner Brothers, but apparently Warner Brothers said get rid of Gary Sharon and get someone else in there. He's not right for the band. It's funny how in a year's time someone who you refer to as your soul mate in terms of a songwriting partner can go from being your soulmate to being kicked out of a band. I'm talking about Eddie Van Halen to Gary Sharon. So that's how Eddie Van Halen referred to Gary Sharon when he was doing the press junket for the album. A year later, he's out. So, I mean, relationships come and go. There you go. I mean, it is a good album. Please check it out. You can stream it on YouTube. You know what? Everyone's got their own opinion. Everyone thinks that David Lee Roth was the be all and end all of Van Halen. I personally do like the Hagar years better. That's just my opinion. I'll leave it at that. My number two.
The biggest takeaway I got out from that is I have the Hill Street Blues theme in my head because that was my favorite show when it was new when I
I
was a
know.
kid.
I know.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I better
I
not do
know.
too many notes to get a copyright strike.
I know.
Nice job, Mike Post. All right. No,
Mhm.
I've never heard Van Halen 3. I just never cared enough to bother. I haven't even heard all the Sammy albums. I have heard all the David Lee Roth albums, but
I think I just think that for me, David Lee Roth after the debut went Diamond Dave, and it was like, hey, let's have a good time, Mr. Hollywood, hey, whatever. And it's like, fuck off. Like, it really got on my nerves after a while, and it got on everyone else's nerves in the band too. So
barely.
apparently, so I really do think people should give this album a chance. And
I'm sure you've got some people's attention by putting that at number 2 for the year for sure.
mhm,
Even though I haven't heard it, I'm well aware of its infamous status amongst hardcore Van Halen fans. So, yeah,
I know, I know. It's unfortunate. I mean, they did record another demos for another album. Gary Sharon said, and I'll just make a quick Gary, too late for that. Gary Sharon did say that what he wanted to do was to go out on tour first and then do this album and then go on tour again. So in order to get the fans used to him being in the band, maybe he's right. I mean, again, they started to record demos for a follow-up, and that will never see the light of day, unfortunately. So you're number one?
my number one is the third album by this band, also, and they have previously been number 2 twice. They finally crossed the threshold with The Kindness of Strangers. This is Spock's Beard. Um, this is not necessarily the album that contains my favorite songs by Spock's Beard. They're kind of scattered amongst the first 5 albums, but this is the most consistent album from start to finish. I think that they've ever done. Every single song is really good to excellent. I mean, there's no song in here that makes me go, like, we don't really need this. It has 3 kind of mini epics: The Good Don't Last, Harm's Way, and Flow, which are all good, but it also has 4 shorter songs in the midst of those. Cakewalk on Easy Street's a favorite of mine. It's about this guy that keeps getting all kinds of crap happening to him, and yet he comes back with almost this perversely cheerful attitude. It's a cakewalk on easy streets. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a fun song. June is probably the most popular song here amongst Spock's Beards fans. June even references Waste Away, a song from their first album. So, yeah, they're one of those bands that references their own material. But June is basically an acoustic sing along campfire ballad kind of song. Nothing progressive rock about it, but yeah, it's well loved by the fan base in general. Yeah, and it's great to sing along with. In fact, I want to sing along with it now. I don't want to torture anybody too bad. Yeah. June came upon us much too soon, then was gone. Yeah, it's really, yeah. Yeah, I want to hear it now. I want to put this album on. Okay, that's, yeah. I
Okay,
have to do
okay.
that. I'm gonna have to
That's
listen to
cool.
this today. It's been a while since I've listened to this whole album. Yeah, this I think was they truly gelled here. There was the five-man lineup at the time.
Hmm.
Yeah, if I would recommend a single album for anybody to start with rather than a song, yeah, this would be the one, "The Kindness of Strangers" by Spock's Beard.
Okay, that's a good choice. My number one, ladies and gentlemen, is Mike Oldfield with Tubular Bells 3. Now, in terms of what's on my list, it's gone all over the map, right? Basically. Um, this is the third installment of the Tubular Bells series, obviously with the Tubular Bells 3 title. He was going to do a Tubular Bells 4. It never materialized. What happened was he basically notified his record company that he was retiring in 2018. And the only way you can hear any music from those sessions of Tubular Bells 4 is to buy the 50th anniversary edition of Tubular Bells 1. On that disc is a demo version of the lead-off track of Tubular Bells 4, which clocks in at a record 8 minutes and change. Okay, and that's just the demo of that one track. On Tubular Bells 3, this is considered to be, in terms of the albums of the Tubular Bells series, this is sold the least. This was recorded in Ibiza, Spain, where at the time Michael Oldfield lived. And it's 11 tracks. They're all sequenced, all instrumental, with the exception of Man in the Rain, which starts off side two. And out of all the 11 tracks, Man in the Rain with the vocals has to be the weakest track on the album. It starts off with, excuse me, of Source of Secrets. Also, again, all the songs are segued into one another. It does start off with the all too familiar intro of Tubular Bells 1 on piano. And it has more of a Middle Eastern influence and more of, I would say, more of like a modern music kind of a feel in terms of drum loops and stuff. But it is really good. Other songs to note are Outcast, Top of the Morning, which starts off with a repetitive piano intro, and it's just beautiful. It's very ornate. Other songs in note are Serpent Dream. Um, it is just a fantastic album. It was recorded for Music. And the way I heard about this album was that he was performing this album live for a broadcast, and he did the album in its entirety. And I went out the next 2 days, and I bought it. I loved this album. I could sit and listen to this album every single day, and it's to me it's mesmerizing. Yeah, so that's my number one. Tubular Bells, 3 from Mike Oldfield.
Cool. Who would have thought in 1998 we'd be hearing from the likes of Mike Oldfield and Blue Oyster Cult?
Exactly, exactly. It's funny because he got into a dispute with Richard Branson. They had a Virgin, and when he one of his albums, I'm a Rock, I believe it's called, from 1990. When it was released, at the end of the album, you hear him say, "Fuck Richard Branson," right? Because so he signed to Warner's and he released records for Warner's up until like 2000. Went to Mercury, went to different labels. He reunited with Richard Branson for with Virgin for subsequent releases, but this is a really good album, and it's unfortunate that he's decided to not release a proper version of Tubular Bells 4 because I would have jumped on that like big time. So it's just a different take.
I did find it somewhat amusing that you picked Van Halen 3 and Tubular Bells 3, and neither one of them was your number 3. They were 2 and 1.
There you go.
We've got a theme because 4 of my artists that I've 3 I've already mentioned, one I'm going to. This is the third album.
Okay.
3 is the theme for this year, apparently.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. No, I didn't realize that, but you're right. You're right.
Okay, I have one that I've already mentioned before and one that I haven't. I'll go with the familiar one first. This is the
Hmm.
second album by this band. It's 1 Hour by the Concrete Lake by eclectic Swedish progressive metal band Pain of Salvation. Check out that cover.
Oh boy.
Yeah, isn't that kind of creepy? Dark and just
There was a
disturbing.
movie. Sorry, not to cut you off. There's a movie that was done in the 60s, and I forget the name of the movie, but the lead character has her face burned in a fire,
Mhm.
and she has to wear this mask and that's the look. That's the all you see are her eyes. It's like, oh my God. It's black and white and it's very eerie. It's like a suspense thriller horror movie. Like, oh my God. I forget the name of the movie though. It's like when I saw that. Okay,
There's the back with the
but I digress. Oh my God. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, these sepia tones here. This is really the color scheme for I think the majority of their albums throughout their career. Not every one, but pretty close. That which kind of fits their vibe and their mood. So that's kind of
Yeah.
appropriate. Kind of in the same way that so many Opeth albums are, that black and white and gray, misty kind of stuff. This
Yeah.
is Pain of Salvation's general look.
Yeah.
This one is a little bit less eclectic than Entropia, their debut album, which we had mentioned previously. It's it's still a bit weird, but more straightforward, hard rock metal. A couple of nice ballads, including "Water" and "Pilgrim." Uh, Again, the main man here is Daniel Gildenlow, the primary songwriter, lead singer, guitar player, blah blah blah.
Okay.
And his voice and his lyrics are the star of the show. He has a wide ranging, powerful voice, and it really brings the lyrics to life. But the band rocks, though. I mean, I wouldn't really start here, but if you did, it would be fine because it's quite good. All of their albums have something to recommend them.
Hmm.
So if you're
All
into,
right.
yeah, any sort of interesting, eclectic, progressive metal stuff with a good singer, a really good singer,
That's
and
cool.
you haven't checked out Pain of Salvation, what are you waiting for?
There you go. I should be checking them out too. I will. My first honorable mention is an artist that I discovered after 1998, like in the 2000s. um, Elliott Smith with his album XO, right? Or Hugs and Kisses, I guess you'd call it, right? Uh, Elliott Smith to me is basically like almost like a folk artist that's gone electric, kind of like Dylan-esque kind of thing, but a better voice than Dylan. Okay, let's put it that way. I'm just gonna put it out there. Yes, put me under scrutiny.
We
Go
could
ahead.
debate.
You're not the only one. I still love you, Bill. Songs and Note on the album
You
for
got a
me.
lot of nerve. Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Songs and Note on the album for me are Sweet Adeline, which starts the album. Um, Waltz number two. Again, just he has a very unique way of songwriting. Very almost every song is different. He's very an eclectic artist. Like some people, um, every how can I put this? they don't adhere to one style on an album. They just do what comes naturally to them musically, you know. Um, and he's one of those artists. So, another song I know on the album is called Baby Britain, which I do believe was a single from the album. So, yeah, very interesting artist, different, unique. And so, that's my first honorable mention.
That's one I've been putting off for years. On that infamous Counterparts message board CD exchange I've discussed on these shows before from the early 2000s, someone had included a song of his called Color Bars. And I quite liked the song. And for years, I've been meaning to, I really need to check him out. And I still never have. So
Mm. I recommend it. Like I said, he's got a lot of folk influence in his music. I'd say Dylan-esque with a better voice than Dylan. I'm sorry. I know for all you Bob Dylan fans out there, I'm sorry for you. I really I'm sorry. I listened. Side note, I listened to his latest album. It was a double album that came out a couple of years back called I think Murder Most Horrid or something like that.
Murder Most Foul.
Murder Most Foul. Sorry, yes. And the last track on the album is a 17-minute opus, and it's him strumming, singing in the same monotone voice throughout the entire track. And it's like, and it gets to like the 12-minute mark, and he says, and he uses the Queen reference with another one bites the dust. And it's like that's it. But it's like that monotone voice throughout the entire. I wanted to take my computer and throw it out the window. I mean, but that's just me. I mean, Roger Taylor from Queen loves Dylan, thinks he's a genius, he's a musical genius. He was promoting this album. I should check it out. Forget it. I couldn't do it. I no.
Actually, I'm not a hardcore Dylan fan, but I like him a lot. I like a great deal of his stuff from throughout different periods of his career, and including I actually liked the stuff I heard off Murder Most Foul,
Uh,
and I really liked the Tempest album he put out, I believe, from 2012. I think it
and
was. By that point, he'd already developed his Louis Armstrong voice. It's matured enough that it started to sound like this.
and like, believe it or not, I was contemplating buying the Budokan set over the weekend.
That
Okay.
one has a terrible reputation, but I received that as a present a while back. I keep forgetting. I haven't listened to it yet, but just
You
to
know,
see if it's as bad as I've heard.
but do I want to pay very quickly, do I want to pay over $100
Oh God, no!
for a 4 disc live Dylan set? I mean, I'm
Especially
still,
if you don't like him.
I'm still, I want to give it a chance. I'd rather get the new light, bursting out from Jethro Tull, which by the way, I did. It's going to be coming. Thank you, Amazon.com. Um, and that was only $100 for a 6 disc set. Anyways, but I try to get into Dylan. I broke myself. I'm trying to.
He's one of those that's taking me years, bit by bit. I get deeper and deeper, and I appreciate different things he's done more. Yeah, it's
I'd
just such
rather,
a vast catalog.
I'd rather pull my nails out at the quick. I swear to
Right.
God. I'd rather. I'm sorry. Okay. Next.
All right, we've swerved far out of 1998 at this point.
Yes, back into it.
All right, my final honorable mention is third album, three again, third album by this band. But the first time I've mentioned their first two were more overtly religious themed albums. This band, perhaps not at this time, but definitely in the future, ended up having connections with Neil Morse, so Spock's Beard,
Yeah.
with the guys Fred and Steve in a band called Glass Hammer. They're all these progressive rock bands from Tennessee, of all places. Who
Hmm.
knew that Tennessee in the southern United States would be a progressive rock hotbed,
Yeah.
and they all have uh, some overt, some not so overt Christian themes throughout. Some have nothing at all that's obvious there, but their first two albums were fairly, they were, you could almost call them Christian progressive rock.
Hmm.
This third one is not that really. This third one is a concept album called The Robbery of Murder. It's by Salem Hill. Um, the basic story is it's about someone who is killed by a drunk driver and the aftermath of that,
Havoc. Yeah.
uh, and what happens when revenge is attempted on the driver,
Jesus.
and yeah, it, it's a whole story. I mean, from beginning to end here, it really is a concept album. It's not a difficult story to follow. It's not one. It's not some convoluted Lamb Lies Down on Broadway or anything like that, where you're wondering what the hell is even happening here.
Exactly.
Not to crap on the Lamb, but yeah, I mean, let's face it, folks. Most people have no clue what's going on in the
I don't
Lamb.
even, yeah, I don't even think Tony Banks knew when he performed on the album. So, I mean,
Exactly. But this, though, yeah, this story is much more straightforward. Plus, it's a single disc, which makes it a little easier to digest. These guys have nice vocals and just they they're definitely a progressive rock band, but there's no epics on here. There are songs in the 6 7 minute range at the most, and you know they'll be mentioned again when we
yeah.
move on to another decade at some point. But yeah, this is their third album. Since we're on the threes, it's The Robbery of Murder by Salem Hill,
Okay.
courtesy of Tennessee.
Okay. Cool. Cool. My last honorable mention, guys, is REM with Up. I think this was where Warner Brothers started to regret their $100 million deal with the band because every album tended to sell less and less and less with that Warner Brothers deal. I mean, at a time when 5 times platinum in America, 3 times platinum in Australia, they just seemed to peter out and it's like near the end of the 2000s, although they were releasing albums. The singles, Day Sleeper, good track. Lotus is another good single, and Suspicion is another good song. But I like REM, don't get me wrong, but to hear the opening track of Up and to hear a drum machine that sounds like circa 1981 from Face Value, from Phil Collins. Something's going on here. I mean, like, did the drummer not show up for the session? I don't know.
Was
Um,
this the first album they did after Bill Berry left?
I believe so. Could be. When did
So
he
they probably,
leave? Bill
I
Berry.
don't recall. I know it was
Because he
here in the
had,
mid late 90s.
yeah, because he suffered a brain aneurysm,
Mhm.
mild one, and he decided to leave the band shortly after that. Um, but yeah, no, it's okay, but no. I
Yeah, that
mean,
might be part of the problem. They lost their drummer. If that's the case, if this is the first one without him, it's like they were
yeah.
kind of flailing around trying to figure out what to do. And oh, how about this old drum machine thing?
Well, there you go. There you go. It just, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's like someone used this analogy once. It's like a table having 3 legs instead of four. If the fourth leg isn't there to support the whole piece, then it falls apart. There's no proper support for what you're trying to do. So yeah, and I do believe that this is when Warner Brothers, I believe, you know, look, we paid these guys how much for what? Like $100 million for this. So
More
yeah,
power to REM.
there you go.
Take it to the record company.
There you go. Stick it to the man. So, all right, guys. our top five albums of 1998 plus two honorable mentions in the comments below, down there, down below. Please put your top five, top two again, top 10, top three, whatever you like to do. Give us your opinion on the ones we've chose. I know that my Van Halen 3 is gonna, you know, really get some people in the crotch for that one. A good kick in the crotch. I don't have my steel toe boots on, so you guys are safe. But these are just our opinions, and that's what these shows are about. And just to go off on a bit of a tangent, these shows that we do, Bill has said before, we are not professionals, we are not experts in music. This is what we like to listen to. These are our choices. Okay. We're not going to be everyone's favorite. We're not going to be everyone's you know, cup of tea or coffee, whatever, in terms of watching. But we do appreciate you watching. For those of you out there who are supporting what I'm doing and what Bill and I are doing together, because he's just as much part of this channel as I am, okay? If not better than me, okay? Because he does a lot for this channel. But we do appreciate your support. Okay. So click like and hit subscribe and hit the notification bell for any to keep yourselves on top of any new content they've got coming up. We will be back in a few minutes with our top five albums of 1999. Okay. So for Mr. Bill Schuster, I am Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good day. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just have one closing message
Sorry.
in honor of Mike Post and Hill Street Blues.
Oh, okay.
Hill Street Blues fans will know what I'm talking about. But hey, let's be careful out there.
I know who you're talking about. Okay, okay. Okay, guys, we've gone off the rails here completely.
Completely.
All right. So again, click like, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell to keep yourselves on top of any new content that I've got coming up. Um, Before we started taping, Bill and I discussed doing a Frank Zappa top 10 album ranking. Okay. So that's in the works. We're going to be doing that. So, and other shows are coming up. So for Mr. Bill Schuster, I'm Armando Venditti. We'll see you soon with 1999 and have a good day. Bye for now.